Hey everybody, welcome back to L-Man Gaming. Today I got for you, what really makes a game? Game of the Year. Now, of course, with Game of the Year, everybody has their opinions, everybody's going to have their favorites, and that's all fair, that's all good. But I'm not here to give you this crap out answer and just take some kind of weak stance. I really do believe there is absolutely a way to kind of define this and what should be celebrated. And to kind of understand that, first, let's actually look at the Game of the Year awards that's hosted by Jeff Knightley because that Game Awards actually does a really good job, I think, of kind of focusing on the good parts about games. And that's what we're going to kind of push into. So the reason why I mentioned the Game Awards is because right they do a combination of majority in terms of votes, but also kind of interpreting their own opinion in terms of how, what game is really kind of done the most for the industry for that year. And see, that is extremely important, and that is something I can agree with fully because, right, we want to celebrate what's kind of moving the industry forward, right? What is going to get us to, better games, things that we can improve upon, and things ultimately that the industry, needs to focus on. So, to fully truly understand this, let's go back in time a bit. Because the reason why I trust the Game of the Year awards and why it makes sense is if you look back to 2018, that was a huge year for games. We had Red Dead Redemption 2 versus God of War. And I knew before the show, I told myself, I said, I really think God of War should win this title. And when they picked it to win, I knew from that point on that I could trust the Game Awards. In fact, every year going forward, they haven't missed. They have not missed once, man. Every game that they have picked has been their correct choice. Now, that's pretty controversial though, right? Because Red Dead Redemption 2 is a fantastic game. In fact, I'm going to say something probably even more controversial in a second here. But again, right, look at the meaning of the award itself, right? Game of the Year. We're celebrating something for that year. And it seems simple, and it seems dumb to even mention that, right? But why is that important? Because let's look forward now, right? Where we're at now, right? Many years later. What God of War has done has really not been replicated much at all. In fact, I think the only game, there's one game coming out called Evil West that I think is trying to kind of use these same systems and the way like the camera works. But right, Red Dead Redemption 2, this is a game that I can list off so many different titles, right? In this third person, kind of action adventure game that plays very similar and, has these kind of open world elements. Now again, granted, Red Dead Redemption 2, you know, was the pinnacle of a lot of those systems. But right, there are a lot of other games that do replicate Red Dead Redemption 2 and do things differently and so forth. So when you look at God of War beating Red Dead Redemption 2, again, it really comes down to what really happened that year and pushed the industry forward. And we have never seen a game like God of War before that combined, right, that Last of Us kind of storytelling, but that kind of gameplay that is similar to these, big action hack and slash games, Not as advanced, not as complex, mind you, but right, still, right, this has been a game that, it's not necessarily a new genre, but we haven't seen these elements kind of come together and have a game in that kind of fashion. Here's the controversial part about all this, right? Right, we're many years ahead now. I can say for a fact that Red Dead Redemption 2 is 100% the better game. If I had to play one game right now, I would play Red Dead Redemption 2 over God of War. But then you might be screaming at me, well, what the heck? You just said God of War deserved to win Game of the Year. Right, for that year. See, let's go back, right? The circle, we're full circle now, right? You kind of see the pitfalls, but also why it's beneficial. Because, again, for that year, what God of War did was very special, and it deserved it for that year. But Red Dead Redemption 2 has 100% had, the legs. It's gone all the way. So, right, that's why I like defining these things. Because, if you're given an award now for, Game of the Decade, well then, right, God of War gets pushed aside. And then now Red Dead Redemption 2 comes up further. And, to the top by that point, right? So again, you don't have to agree with that, right? At the end of the day, right, our opinions triumph everything, right? You like something, you're gonna like it, and you're gonna say the other person's wrong. But right, that's why I try to stop that bias and look at, again, what's really happening that year and what can we celebrate and move forward with. And again, right, 2018 God of War, it did something that we hadn't seen before, and it did deserve to win Game of the Year. So now that we kind of define these things and we have that mindset about, you know, what is moving the industry forward, let's look about what's happening now, this year, right? The big heavy hitters, 100%. Elden Ring versus the new God of War Ragnarok. And, we're kind of in this same kind of space again, like 2018. But if you look through the trees, I think the answer about which game is going to win Game of the Year is actually very obvious. Now, before I get into my pick, I want to let it be known that I haven't even played Ragnarok yet. It actually comes out tomorrow. As I'm making this video, it releases tomorrow. But, right, our imagination can take us very far, and there's been a lot of reviews already on it. And, right, what kind of person would I be, I feel like, if I didn't kind of give my opinion up front, before these things actually happen. So I can kind of say, I told you so, right? And as of right now, from what I've seen, right, the bosses in Ragnarok just have to be out of this freaking world to beat Elden Ring. Because remember what we talked about, right? Moving the industry forward. How do we, that's what we'd like to find. And between these two games, Ragnarok is just a bigger, badder kind of sequel. Improved a lot of things, enemies, the designs, like we've seen. But what is it really kind of done differently? I mean, from what I've seen, like some transversal options and stuff. But overall, it's just bigger and better. Versus Elden Ring, though, see, why Elden Ring is probably going to win, why I think Elden Ring, and it should win Game of the Year, is because in terms of its open world design, it is absolutely something different. I had my review on this recently. I reviewed Elden Ring recently, and I did talk about it, saying, right, it was enough. It's enough to still keep Miyazaki's work just, the top of the tier, right, cream of the crop. And ultimately, right, again, based on what we defined, Elden Ring's open world is something that we have not seen in any Dark Souls games before. It's something that we have not seen in any other open world game before, besides maybe Breath of the Wild. But even then, that's an unfair comparison because the scope, the magnitude, the difficulty of it, right, we're able to experience the Soul formula in a totally new, different way. So unless I get my hands on Ragnarok and see that there is, something actually really new there that has, moved this industry forward, I just do not see it beating Elden Ring. Again, the only way Ragnarok has a chance is if the boss fights are just nutty, and I don't know. I have no idea. But that's really the only thing that's going to be able to stop Elden Ring. So yeah, guys, I hope that all makes sense. Again, right? It's a tough topic. There is no wrong answer to this. I celebrate all games. What you like is what you like. But, when it comes to big AAA, right, these big $1 million budgets, right, it's what the industry relies upon, microtransactions and so forth, right? What are we really talking about, right? So like I said, I didn't want to give you guys some kind of half crap answer here and have this weak stance. I'm letting you know that for me, I do think it is obvious. It is obvious sometimes. However, I will say this, like I said, I do think this is actually going to be even closer than Red Dead Redemption 2 and the original God of War. So I won't be disappointed if they actually do end up going with Ragnarok. But again, I think what Elden Ring did in just that one aspect probably deserves to win the title. But yeah, I want to make one last comment, right? Because again, if you checked out my Elden Ring review, as I mentioned, right, I thought it was somewhat of a subpar experience. And overall, while I do recognize it as an amazing game and probably going to be Game of the Year, right, I didn't really like it as much as I was hoping. And, it is, I feel like Miyazaki, some of his worst work. But that's what it means to take out the bias on stuff, and that's what it means to kind of celebrate what we should be celebrating and recognizing that, right? That's the most important thing, right? Recognizing it. So Elden Ring has my vote. So yeah, guys, thanks for stopping by to the channel. And if you made it this far, let me know what your favorite game of the year is, I mean, maybe there's something I missed, an indie game that beats both of these titles, right? I mean, I don't think so, but, right? Let me know what you're thinking. And, right, just buckle up for next year because it's going to get even tougher. A lot of good games coming out.